Shavua Tov, a gute Woche, and welcome to our program. As we are now in front of the wonderful Yom Tov of Purim, we're already in other bays. It is time for a question. And the question is, you look at the Megillah, and you find an interesting phenomenon, and you have a big question. The Jews, there was a decree on the Jewish people, Lashmid, Lahalig, Ul Abed, Es Kol HaYehudim, to kill all Jews, men, women, and children. And the obvious question is, what did they all do to get killed? Why did they deserve such a decree? And if you are asking yourself that question, you're in good company. That of the Talmidim of Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai. And it's an open Gemara. It's a Gemara in Megillah, that Yud Beis Amud Aleph, the Rebbe brings the Gemara. Shoalu Talmidov es Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai. The Talmidim asked Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, Mipnei man is chayvus eineihem shel Yisrael shebe'eisei hadeit kloyo. Why were the expression is eineihem shel Yisrael, the enemies of the people, but it means why did the Jewish people deserve such a decree? And the answer is, they have enjoyed the feast of Achashverosh. The Rebbe asks a question. They have enjoyed the feast of Achashverosh. Let's see, they did enjoy the feast of Achashverosh. Because of that, you kill all Jewish men, women, and children? Because they enjoyed the feast? Now, was the feast kosher or not kosher? So first of all, even if it was not kosher, for the clarity of the argument, somebody eats not kosher food, doesn't deserve to get killed. You're not supposed to eat you're supposed to eat kosher food, glatt kosher food. But if somebody doesn't eat kosher food, doesn't deserve to get killed. No such halacha. Men, women, and children. On top of everything, that the food was kosher. Because it says, Ketzein ish vo ish. And the Gemara and the Medrash say, ish vo ish is a reference to Haman, to Mordechai, and to Haman. In other words, everybody got whatever they wanted at this feast. Came a Jew and he says, I only eat Lubavitcher shchita. This and this kind of shchita, that's all I eat. Achashverosh said, you know what? Give him whatever he wants. Comes another Jew and he says, wait a minute, I only eat Saltmaner shchita. Says Achashverosh, give him Ketzein ish vo ish. So everybody got whatever they want, as kosher as they wanted. So what's the question? So why was there such a terrible decree? We will return to that in a moment. But first, our customary story. I heard the story from a Jew who heard the story from his grandmother. And it's a story that's in their family. The grandmother Nebuch was an almona with 3 children. And she lived in an area in the Bronx. But she didn't send her children to a Jewish school or a day school, because in that area in the Bronx, there was no Jewish schools. So she did not send them to a Jewish school, she sent them to public school. One day she was visited by a Lubavitcher Chosid, who said to her that maybe she should move to a different area where she would be able to send the children to a Jewish school. In this area in the Bronx, there are no Jewish schools, but maybe she wants to move to Brooklyn someplace or to Queens someplace. She didn't want to hear. She says he was Nebuch an almona. She's alone with 3 children. She doesn't want to be troubled. This individual was a big chassid. Said to her one day, maybe he's going to make an appointment for her to see the Rebbe. Maybe she wants to go and see the Rebbe. He said he'll make the appointment. She agreed. She came in to see the Rebbe. And the Rebbe says to her that maybe she should move to an area where she should be able to give the children a Jewish education. She started crying. She said she was an almona. with 3 children. She doesn't know whether she will have enough money to in a new place and enough money to move. So the Rebbe asks her, where would you like to move? She says she would like to move to Kew Garden Hills. So the Rebbe says to her, if you sell your house that you have now in the Bronx, you will have enough money to buy another house in Kew Garden Hills, and you'll even have money to move. And then the Rebbe says to her, and if you will not have money to move, I will give you $10,000, you should be able to move. But I don't think you'll need it because you will have enough money. The Rebbe sent her an individual who acted like a broker, who helped her sell the house in the Bronx, who helped her get a house in Kew Garden Hills. And guess what? It's exactly the way the Rebbe said. She sold a house in the Bronx, she bought a house in Kew Garden Hills, and she had enough money to move. This individual told me the story, that he heard the story from his grandmother. He is the son of a daughter, and Baruch Hashem, she sent her children, and they had a good education, and he is one of the grandchildren. Today he lives in Borough Park and is a Filmelid. I want to thank my friend and my neighbor, Rabbi Shmuel Butman, for making this story, for bringing this story to my attention. Rabbi Shmuel, keep up the good work. Rabbi say, concerning the question that you probably asked yourself, and the Talmidim of Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai asked him the question, Mipnei man is chayvus eineim shel Yisrael shebeisei hadeit kloya. Why did they deserve such a decree? Anoshim noshim v'taf. Nachmanu litzlan, to make an end to the Jewish people? Why? Because they participated in the Suda. They had a noah of the Suda of Achashverosh. And as mentioned before, it was a kosher Suda. Even if not, one doesn't deserve a punishment of death. But you know, by Jews, there's another question here. If he wanted to tell us that we ate and we participated in the Suda of Achashverosh, it should have said arguably, the terminology should have been arguably, that they ate part of the Suda. What's this expression that they had Hanoah? What difference does it make here, arguably? And you know, we answer one question with the other. We answer the first question with this question. And you know the story. A Gentile once asked the Jew, how come you Jews answer one question with the other? And the Jew looked, and he smiled, and he said, and why not? So here we have the second question. What does it mean? They had hanoah. If what you want to say that they ate and they weren't supposed to, it should have said So here is the Rebbe's explanation. Vintage Rebbe. And it is, number one, there is a big question. The survival of the Jewish people. That's an all-time question. Not only that, the Rebbe brings the Maimad Azal. It's a medrash. It's a medrash Tanchume. It's a medrash in Esther Rabbe. The Rebbe brings it in Psikta Rabosi. That we are kivso achas ho emedes ben shivim ze'evim. We are one sheep that survives from among 70 wolves. Now I want to ask you a question. What are their chances of one sheep to survive against one wolf? And the answer is a very simple one. None. A sheep cannot survive against one single wolf. Now that's one. Now you multiply that by 70. So what are the chances of this sheep to survive? You can imagine yourself. But we're surviving. Baruch Hashem. What's the answer? The answer says the Medrash, Godel Horeye Shematzilo Veshemro. But great is the shepherd Almighty God himself. Shematzilo, he rescues her. Veshemelo, and he keeps her and he guards her. Almighty God rescues us at all times, and he guards us at all times. You take a look at the situation in Israel. 60 Arab countries from all sides. And we survived. It's because Godel Horeya, Almighty God is the shepherd, and he keeps a watchful eye on us all the time. Which means that our kiyum is not in a way, in a natural way. It's in a supernatural way. Lamayla minateva. The kiyum of our people, says the Rebbe, is not in a natural way. It's beifunisi, lamayla minateva. Just like the sheep. Chasdeh shel Hashem Yisborech, it's the mercy of Almighty God that keeps us going. However, for that you need the emunah of the Jew, that the Jew should believe he knows at all times that the only reason that he exists is because God keeps an eye on him. Nothing else. Now what happened by Achashverosh? And here is where the second question comes in, and the answer to the second question. Achashverosh made a big feast, and he invited all Jews. And he made them feel great, like $1 million. He gave them whatever they want. Whatever food you want, whatever meat you want, whatever wine you want, whatever hechsher you want. And they started feeling very good. They started having hanoah from this. Now, was there a question whether they should go to the feast or not? Absolutely no question at all. When Achashverosh invites you to a feast, you go. No chochmas. This is the king is inviting you to go, you have to go. However, you have to know that the one who keeps you and guards you is Almighty God. Not that they were by Achashverosh. And Achashverosh took such good care of them. They started feeling secured. Hey, now we have connections. We have connections. We're invited to the king's feast. So now we survive because we know the king. We know the king. We know this minister. We know that minister. We have connections. The moment that sets in, then that breaks the pipe of life. Because the pipe of survival is the emunah in God. Once you take that away, that now you're okay because you're friendly with Achashverosh, so you're taking away that emunah. The moment you're taking away that emunah, you have no, you're removing the reason of life, the reason of safety, and the reason of continuity, because you're removing the reason for your existence. Your existence is built on the emunah of Almighty God. Once you remove that, there's nothing else left. There's no pipe, there's no lifeline left, because you removed the lifeline with your own hands. So it's almost automatic. The moment they started believing that they have a connection with Achashverosh and this is the reason for their survival, they removed the lifeline of supply, the life supply line that they had until now. And this is why they were, they had a decree, Lashmit Lahalik Labeit Eskola Yehudim. Reb David Tzvi Hirschchen was a wonderful Jew. He was the David Chenigev. He was called the Radatz, Reish Dalet Tzadik, Reb David Tzvi. As a matter of fact, the Rebbe said that in his house, they called him Reb David Hirschel. Also, parenthetically, he was a mechuten with the Rebbe's house, because the Rebbe Yitzchak's brother, the Rebbe's father's brother, was a son-in-law of the Radatz. The Sholem Shleimesh Neilson, the brother of the Rebbe Yitzchak, was a son-in-law. Still winter, I'm sorry. Was a son-in-law of the Radatz. In the year Tofreish Pevov, 1926, the Radatz was an elderly man in his 80s, and he decided he's going to leave Chernigov. He's going to go to Yerushalayim Eir HaKodesh. He was an elderly man. He wanted to remain in Eretz Yisrael. Like the dream of many people. He didn't say anything to the previous Rebbe. Not only didn't he ask, he didn't even notify the Rebbe that he's going. I heard the story from my uncle, the Zalman Schneerson. And the Zalman Schneerson would know, because he came from that area, Chernigov, and his father, Rebbe Menachem Mendel, was the Rov in Chernigov after the Radatz. So he would know the story from the people in the area. And this is the story they told him. That when the previous Rebbe found out that the Radatz went to Eretz Yisrael, in Tofreish Pevov, the Friedrich Rebbe, previous Rebbe, said two things. Number one, had niet gedacht onkomen zu der darf nicht onkomen zu der Eretz Yisrael Erd. He doesn't need the earth of Eretz Yisrael. The Radatz was a holy Jew. He wanted to go to Eretz Yisrael to remain there after 120 years. And the Rebbe said, the Radatz didn't need it. That's number one. And number two, the previous Rebbe said, Es is mir a rachmones auf seiner Arichas Yomim. I'm sorry for the years that he lost. Es is mir a rachmones auf seiner Arichas Yomim. The way it was, the Radatz went to Eretz Yisrael, to Yerushalayim Eir HaKodesh. He lived in Eretz Yisrael for 10 months, and he passed away. 6 months later, his son-in-law, Rebbe Shalom Shlomo Schneerson, the brother of the Rebbe Yitzchak Schneerson, the father of the Rebbe, passed away. They left a daughter that was 9 years old. Now, what happened here? The Radatz lived in Chernigov, and he lived nicely. The Rebbe gave the Radatz Arichas Yomim V'Shonim Tevis for one reason. He should stay in Chernigov and take care of the Jewish community. The moment that Radatz left Chernigov, he broke that line of life, that line of support. And therefore he stayed in Yerushalayim 10 months. The same thing with the Shalom Shlomo, lived another 6 months in Yerushalayim and passed away. Because the line of support and the line of life was given for one purpose, so that Radatz should remain in Chernigov taking care of the Jewish community. There was a Rov in Romania. His name was the Moshe Rosen, the chief rabbi of Romania. And he did very well for Romanian Jews. In Romania there was a dictator by the name of Nicolae Ceausescu. Rav Rosen was friendly with Nicolae Ceausescu, and because of that he had many favorites in the Jewish community. He would come to the Rebbe many times. He would come to Yechidus. And at the end of his life, more or less, he would say to the Rebbe many times that he wants to leave Romania. He wants to live, after the few years that he has, he wants to live in Eretz Yisrael, in peace. And the Rebbe never let him. The Rebbe never let him leave Romania. This story I heard from him myself. I once met him in Yerushalayim Eir HaKodesh, and he told me this story. That he asked the Rebbe many times, and the Rebbe never let him. And one time he very strongly asked the Rebbe that he had enough, and the few years that he still has, he wants to move to Yerushalayim Eir HaKodesh, so that he should live nicely in not Yerushalayim, Eretz Yisrael. So he says, the Rebbe said to him these words, Rabbi Rosen, wie alt seid ihr? Rabbi Rosen, how old are you? I think he said 79. And the Rebbe said these words, Ich bin älter von euch und ich retire nicht. I am older than you, and I don't retire. Strong words. Strong words. I'm older than you, and I don't retire. He told me the story when I met him in Yerushalayim Eir HaKodesh. Unfortunately, he left Romania, and he moved to Eretz Yisrael. And he lived in Eretz Yisrael about 1.5 years. That was it. Now what happened here? The same reason. Almighty God gave Rav Moshe Rosen, the Rav of Romania, Aruchos Yomim Veshonim Teves for one reason. He should remain in Romania and take care of the Jewish community, like he did for 40 years before. Now he left Romania, he went to Eretz Yisrael, and he broke the line of life and the line of life supply himself. Now we understand what the Jews did. They had a line of supply, of life, and that is Godel Horeya, the Emunah in Almighty God. The moment they broke that, there was a decree, Lashmid La Regulavet Eskol HaYehudim. But the Rebbe brings from the Alter Rebbe that the Jewish community stood in Mesilas Nefesh for a whole year. The Jewish community, men, women, and children, they could have been saved. They could have said that this decree is about the Jewish people, but they are from this country, from that country, from that country, from another country. Not even one person said that. They accepted the decree and they stood in Mesilas Nefesh. And this is why Purim is an all-time yontif for each and every single one of us. And from what we can see, when we knew from experience, that the happiest yontif by the Rebbe was Purim. Not even Simchas Torah. Purim was the happiest yontif by the Rebbe. Like Hudi Moisa Eiro v'Simcha v'Sosein v'Kol. We say it in our liturgy every Mitzvah Shabbos. But then we add 3 words. Kein Tihi Yelonu, that we want to see it with our very own eyes. And we want to see that like Hudi Moisa Eiro v'Simcha, real Eiro, real light, real Simcha, good news from Eretz Yisrael. We won the war, no more war in Eretz Yisrael. All the hostages are home. Im Yot Hashem, Kein Tihi Yelonu, Gesundheit und Fröhlichkeit. And as the Rebbe tells us, we're the last generation of Golus and the first generation of Geulah. And our generation will see with our very own eyes the Geulah Hamitis v'Yashlema coming our way. Uba'agolo didanu v'simcho uv'tuv livov uv'teva nire v'yaniglo l'mata me'asor atfochim uv'chesed uv'rachamim v'tekef u'miyad mamesh.